Hello everyone, and welcome back to the MFT YouTube channel. It's Karolyn here, and I'm popping in today to share another interactive card process video with you. It features the new Launch Party Die-namics and the Santa and Friends stamp set and the Sassy Santa stamp set, both from last year's holiday release. Today's video shows that you can flip the pull tab to the left side of the card and force an image in the opposite direction. I just love the versatility of the Launch Party Die-namics. The Launch Party Die-namics include everything you need to launch something into the air. I decided to die cut 2 pull tabs for today's project to add a level of stability to it. I cut 2 caps for the 2 slider elements that I'll need to keep the pull tab aligned. I die cut an acetate gasket to help keep the brad inside the acetate track. And I die cut a collar from some printer paper, another component to help keep the pull tab aligned. I'll be pairing the Launch Party Die-namics with the Flying Deer and the Sentiment from the Santa and Friends stamp set and the Sleigh from the Sassy Santa stamp set. Both of these sets were from the 2018 holiday season. I did all of the stamping and die cutting off camera, but I wanted to mention that I die cut the Town Die-namics from gravel gray cardstock, the Snowdrifts Die-namics stitched basic edges 2, and the third from the smallest of the Circle STAX set 1 Die-namics, all from smooth white cardstock. I used the largest of the A2 rectangle STAX set 2 Die-namics to size the image panel and the outside edges of the layers. In order to determine where the slider channel for the pull tab goes, I need to position the pull tab where I want it, keeping in mind that I want to hide the reindeer behind the layers of the town and snowdrifts. I want the pull tab to extend about 1/4 inch from the left side of the image panel, so I'm using my pencil to mark the upper and lower edges of the pull tab. I'll also mark the end of the pull tab. In order for the reindeer to make the larger rotation from left to right, the slider channel needs to be longer than the channel die accommodates. So I'll position the die in the center of the marked lines, die cut it once, then reposition the die to extend to the marks on the right end of the image panel and die cut it again. I wanted to jazz up my little scene a bit, so I'm using the Snowfall horizontal stencil and my favorite Sweet Tooth pigment ink and a dauber to add some snowflakes. I actually tried to make snowflakes using embossing paste, but the texture of the paste interfered with the flying reindeer. I sped the camera up in the interest of time, but I love the end result when I'm done. The small details are what make a project special. Next, I'll glue the 2 pull tabs together for stability using my tape runner adhesive. And then I'll secure the acetate strip to the pull tab using a brad through the pre-cut holes. The holes measure 1/16 inch, so you need a pretty small brad for this. Once the brad is pushed through both holes, I'll just bend the prongs on the back and align the prongs parallel to the end of the tab. Next, I'll reposition the pull tab back into place on the image panel, aligning it using the pencil markings that I made before. I'll temporarily secure it in place with a few pieces of washi tape, and then I'll flip the image panel over to the back. I've adhered some 1/4 inch double-sided tape to both sides of 2 slider elements, and I'll place one of those slider elements through the channel and adhere it to the back of the pull tab, just in front of the brad. I'll cap the slider element off with one of the cardstock caps, and then do the same thing with the other slider element, positioning it just to the right of the first one. This will help keep the pull tab aligned and provide a smooth track for the pull tab to move. Next, I'm using my liquid glue pen to adhere the collar together. I folded it on the provided score lines, and I'll adhere the sticky end on top. Then I'll add some more liquid adhesive to the back of the collar and slide it onto the pull tab and adhere it to the image panel close to the left edge. But before I slide the collar on, I want to make sure that I slide the acetate strip away from the pull tab so that it doesn't get caught. The collar is another great component of the Launch Party Die-namics to help keep the pull tab aligned and moving smoothly. I slid the acetate strip up at an angle so that the left end of the track of the acetate strip sits just above the top of the pull tab. I'll use my pencil to mark the left end of the track. The Launch Party Die-namics includes a 1/8 inch circle die that you can use to die cut the hole for the brad. But sadly, I've lost mine. I noticed a hole in my die pocket, so it must have slipped out of that somewhere along the way between our homes in Washington and Arizona. Luckily, I have a 1/8 inch long reach hole punch that I can use in its place. I positioned the acetate gasket on top of the acetate strip, making sure that all 3 holes are aligned before I insert my brad. Once through the hole, I'll bend the prongs of the brad on the back of the image panel. Before I assemble anything else, I want to stamp my sentiment from the Santa and Friends stamp set onto the snowdrifts using After Midnight dye ink and my Misty. I'll also stamp the word pull from the interactive label stamp set onto the end of the pull tab, again using After Midnight dye ink. Next, I'll adhere the sentiment snowdrifts to the bottom edge of the straight snowdrift with tape runner adhesive, and then I'll adhere both snowdrifts to the bottom of the gravel gray Town die cut, again using my tape runner adhesive. As mentioned before, I did all of my stamping, coloring, and die cutting off camera so that I can focus on the interactive mechanism. It's time to adhere the reindeer to the acetate strip. I know that he'll make almost a 180-degree rotation, so he needs to start his position upside down. I also want to make sure that his antlers are hidden, so I need to position him so that his antlers align with the bottom and left edges of the image panel. Once he's in place, I can adhere him to the foam square that I've attached to the acetate strip, pretty close to the acetate gasket. When I pull on the pull tab, the reindeer rotates from left to right. I want to use his end position to help me decide where the moon goes. I'll adhere the moon to the image panel using tape runner adhesive. I've added 2 layers of small foam squares to the bottom edge of the image panel, just below the pull tab. I want to mention that you don't want to put foam squares or adhesive in any places that will interfere with the movement of the mechanism. So because of that, I'm limited to where I can place foam squares. In this case, I can only put foam squares at the bottom edge of the image panel and on the 3 houses to the far right. I'll align the assembled die cuts with the image panel and adhere them together. And a quick test run of the mechanism shows that no foam square adhesive is interfering with the mechanism. And now that I know everything is aligned, I can trim off the excess acetate strip with my scissors. I'll adhere the assembled image panel to an A2 horizontal top folding After Midnight card base using a single layer of foam squares. And again, make sure you don't use adhesive in any places that will interfere with the mechanism. And lastly, I'll adhere Santa's sleigh to the image panel using more foam squares. I get giddy seeing that reindeer fly through the sky when I pull on the pull tab. And that, my friends, is the end to another fun interactive card video. I hope this has helped you see just how versatile and easy to use the Launch Party Die-namics really are. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I've listed all of the MFT products that I used below in the description box. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll give this a try for yourself. Have a spectacular day, friends.